let's get started with introduction. So I'll start with you, Natalia Kowaleczko.
Hi.
She's the founder of Pact Studio, the co-founder, I guess. And your background is really fascinating, big name like VSA or Leo Burnett. But I know mainly Pact because I think both of your studios are the most amazing in San Francisco, I know, for the depths. And you worked about 15 years branding, design, advertising, and experiential work. Danielle, LaRoy, I don't even know if I pronounced the French way. You're the co-founder of Goodside Studio along with Jessica Strelioff, who's not here today, but also a dear friend. And then you started your career at Dropbox before moving to the agency where we met, and then building Goodside. And I think the name says it all. It's about also bringing a lot of joy, I think, in the brand you work in. So I asked them a really tough exercise to partner together and do a little bit of a duo to share the best practices, because I think for many technical founders, it's always a challenge to know how you build a brand. It feels a bit mysterious and complicated, and it's a lot of art and science. So why don't we share with you what happens behind the scenes? I give the
Oh, perfect.
I'll start. Almost perfect.
We're so close.
Yeah.
This is slide number 1.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay, everyone, thanks for having us. We will try and keep it tight since we're the last act standing between you and happy hour. But I'm Danielle. I am a co-founder of Goodside. Natalia leads Pact. We run 2 separate boutique branding studios who both really brand companies who are working to do good in the world. That takes many forms in our clients. We work with a range of founders, but generally the through line is that they are all purpose driven. So that can be everything from coffee shops to compliance companies. You will sort of see the range in our talk here. A couple other philosophical beliefs that really unify our 2 studios. We are very hands-on, we're small on purpose, so very tight teams, very senior teams who really embed ourselves deeply into our clients' organizations to get into the creative ourselves. We are nimble, so from our core competencies, we extend often with our network of partners who can add for web development or animation or things that fall outside of our core competencies, which are brand strategy, visual design, and copywriting. And lastly, both of our studios are very strategic. You'll see a lot of sort of strategy thinking that underlies the brands that we will talk about today. We really believe that a great brand starts with the story that you're telling, and we've heard from tons of great brands today, and all of them have extremely compelling stories that are really at the heart of what they're doing. We've built brands for all kinds of folks. These are the big ones, but mostly our work is with the Davids on the David to Goliath spectrum. But we've worked with a handful of folks that you would recognize and a whole lot more that you wouldn't yet. And today we're going to tell you about how to build desire from day one. So how to use branding as sort of a strategic lever, and how to think about investing in your brand, especially from a client lens.
Cool. So we'll throw quite a bit at you. As Danielle mentioned, we're going to go fast, and perhaps we'll have a little bit of time for QA at the end. But first, start on day 0. And building desire starts with really solving a problem and understanding your precise pain points and broader context of who you're speaking to with your brand. One example of this for us was working with Terra Regenerative Capital. It's a firm investing in supply chain infrastructure to scale regenerative agriculture. Their challenge was the green stuff stigma and regenerative agriculture not necessarily being recognized as something to invest into. I feel like you're competing against hot AI, tech, all of the aesthetic and all of the money that's kind of entangled in it. And we were very much aware of that. And then also, just explaining a very complex system. Terra particularly invests in the middle of a chain supply, and they had problems communicating that idea to even the people they were trying to bring on board. So we created a flexible trellis identity system that weaves technical and natural elements, and it positions regenerative agriculture as infrastructure, not ideology. And you can see a couple of visuals that we presented. It's mixing both like draft, technical, very detailed work with natural elements. We also created a language that talked about Mother Earth as the original innovator, trying to tie in the gap between technology and regenerative agriculture and precision systems working in sync. This system allowed us to depict things like even simple photosynthesis here, but on the next slide you will see more complex systems that are part of the supply chain in regenerative agriculture. Also just beautiful Instagram slides. And here is just like a simple little GIF showing a little bit of like their deck and how you're explaining some of those more complex elements through this visual identity.
Nice. Okay, tip number 2 is to invest in your brand at key inflection points. So there's no wrong time to invest in your brand, but there are some times that are particularly right. Typically we say either invest at inception or at some of these key inflection points. So we see clients typically coming to us when they're thinking about raising a new round of funding. We just heard a lot about funding. Sharpening your story ahead of that exercise can be really powerful and can really pretty immediately generate a return on your investment. Moving into a new space, so oftentimes clients will come to us when they are moving into a new market, they're targeting a new audience, maybe they're launching a new product. That's a really natural time to kind of think about what is the story that you're telling and how do I show up in the world. Signs of product market fit, so you don't need perfect product market fit to invest in your brand, but signals from your audience of this is what's working, this is what they're interested in, this is what they want to hear is super helpful for any branding partner that you work with. Having more of those signs obviously allows us to kind of build a sharper brand that's really custom fit for your audience. And then last thing is oftentimes our clients will come to us having looked around and said, it's a really crowded market. This is kind of a sea of sameness. I don't stand out from my competitors. I look the same as everyone else. If you're in tech, maybe you're looking very blue. If you're in sustainability, maybe you're looking very green. Oftentimes our clients come to us with the ask of, we need to stand out in a sea of sameness, and that's a really smart point to invest in your brand. A good example of a company that checked all of these boxes when they came to us was Ditto. We actually worked with Veronique on Ditto, rolling out that brand. So Ditto is a sustainability compliance platform, which is a very complex space. And they came to us with the ask of how do we make this very complex problem a bit more approachable, a bit friendlier. They were moving from the French market into the US market, and they, at the time that they approached us, had a different name that didn't carry the connotations that didn't carry great connotations. Their name was Beaver. So not a problem in the French market, bit of a problem in the US market. And so our solution was to give them a new name, a new identity that sort of addressed all of these challenges. So this is Ditto. Ditto is built around this kind of really friendly ditto mark. If you know what a ditto mark, it's meant to indicate something is the same on a form so that you don't have to write out the same line over and over again. And so that idea of sort of taking what is inherently true in your sustainability program and then repeating across all of the forms that you need to fill out to get compliant is sort of the heart of the name. We came up with this linking language that really spoke to the partnerships that Ditto allows you to build when you are compliant and want to work with partners who are compliant in the same way. The visual language, really friendly, very different from the typical sustainability visual language. And of course, showing it on the website. And at the heart of it really was this super distinct color palette, super vibrant approach to the market of just showing the possibilities of what happens when you can partner with folks who share your values and your approach.
All right, number 3, find the right brand partner. So think about Obviously, you will have a budget, you will have needs, that all matters. Different companies at different sizes will provide you with different options. But capabilities, team makeup, and actually simply even personality fit. I think having calls with the teams you're interviewing or kind of thinking about hiring is really important. You may spend 3, 6, 12 months working with them. I think just like simple alignment at the core can do a lot of the work. One example here is a venture capital firm we just worked on. It's a work in progress case study, but we encountered a very deeply philosophical founder who wanted to express his mission in different ways, and we just clicked. It was really, really simple, and I think having human conversations can really help make sure that someone is going to be your thought partner, not just executing ideas without really contributing more than that. So here's hidden variable, very unique name and something to visualize. And we created this system of brackets that can explain a lot of different ideas and kind of discover the hidden variable that's a principle, a really game-changing idea, etc. And some more examples. And that was number 3. Oops.
Okay, awesome. Tip number 4, define your point of view. Don't outsource this to Claude, please. You'll work with your brand partner, whatever brand partner you choose, can help you define your point of view, but the sharper your perspective and your point of view is coming into the project, the more effective your brand partner can be. A good example here is another venture capital firm called Superorganism. If you are raising funding and in a climate space, they're amazing, and I highly recommend you check them out. Superorganism is founded by a fairly unique founding team in the venture space, one venture capitalist, but one conservation technologist, so kind of environmentalist. The two of them are really investing in companies who are working to end the mass extinction crisis, but doing it in a way that is venture scale, so kind of embedding that impact into a business model that fits a typical venture profile. Their challenge, of course, they were entering the market, they were new, they wanted an identity that spoke to this really kind of unexpected approach or unique approach that they're taking to the market, and also made a splash, but felt really distinct and new. And that's exactly what we gave them. We sort of anchored everything around the unique point of view and perspective that they bring, which we sussed out by doing a lot of research. Your brand partner should do a lot of research before they start showing you beautiful things and pretty pictures. If you are investing in brand, you should invest in a brand partner who really thinks through your business model with you and understands you deeply from the outset. For Superorganism, we anchored on this idea of abundance. I think somebody talked about abundance earlier today as being so motivating, and in this case, it was really inspiring, both from an abundance perspective of Superorganism is investing in an abundant future, founders who are, making the world more vibrant, allowing species to exist that might not otherwise, and also abundance in a financial lens of creating kind of multiples in every domain. And so this brand got a really elevated treatment. We really celebrated sort of the abundance and the beauty of nature as it exists today, and also envisioned nature as it could exist tomorrow, species that will survive because we are investing in companies that are doing right by our planet. The visual language had these sort of beautiful spotlights on their portfolio companies. And also the species themselves break out of their bounding boxes to kind of, again, reinforce that idea of abundance and make sure that sort of unique point of view comes through in every touch point. So I can't imagine another venture capital firm looking like this, showing up like this. That's really what your brand should be doing for you, is articulating your unique point of view and showcasing the perspective that only you have.
All right. Number 5, know your audience and your non-audience. An example here is a company we worked with that's a mixed-use property development in Nashville. It's a full block designed for more communal, connected, excited living. And this one is an interesting one because the builder came to us and knew that they wanted to do something really differentiated, but also wanted to differentiate it in tone. And Nashville is filled with cliches about music town, and there's a lot of new crowd coming into Nashville, including people from all over the world, with really wanting to experience more. And we, you don't, I think the solution here is like, we don't say you're different, you show it. You create mystique, interest, desire, and you let the brand to be the proof of it. And part of it is, it's good not to try to be for everyone. And the moment you know you're communicating with a smaller group of people and really creating a differentiated voice, can be a giant benefit in how you stand out from the crowd. So the motley is we created this type mark. It's actually 3 different towers that are anchored in some really beautiful architecture, and we created a set of marks that can be mixed and matched, inspired by exquisite corpse, kind of to allude to the idea of mixed and match experiences, and a lot of people being brought into the city and having this communal place to live and explore the city from. And just created an identity that can create a lot of desire through not being obvious, but more sense of poetry and intrigue and magic and mystery. Oh yeah, we don't swap on this one. This is the one where it made more sense. Anyway, the next one is create a connected ecosystem of elements. And I think one thing, the way we believe brands can be the most powerful when they're built is finding these honest elements that really distill down to what the company is and how it all translates into the visual look and feel. So here the company is Hydrosat. It's a geospatial thermal imaging platform. So satellites that are detecting the temperature of the earth and thus the water content, which can be awesome for prevention of fires and agricultural management. So we built a system. The challenge here was building a system that felt both technical and grounded. Hydrosat is satellites, but they really care about the planet and agriculture and food supply. So wanted to make sure we exude that and not get stuck in a lot of space branding cliches. And the solution is this interconnected identity. So you can see we have a location pin that turns into a water droplet that then rotates like a satellite system, creating a flower with a star on the inside. It all inherently ties back to what the company does. Our color palette is very much tapping into natural colors from the planet, but also taking key colors from thermal imaging color palette and blending them together. We use the dot, the pin, and the water drop to develop a technical system that can translate the idea of temperature to water content. It's all embedded in the same symbol system. And we also, very much on purpose, chose images that are from up above, satellite view, and from the planet itself, horizon line, so that you can see the interconnectedness of the 2 elements. We also had a complementary set of graphics that allude to cartography or data, nature, and orbit that can be layered with visuals. And it all came together in the system that could be, kind of put together in a lot of different ways, but stayed honest to what the company does.
How are we doing on time, Veronique?
5 minutes left.
Okay, cool. I've got most of the remaining slides, so I'm going to give you a speed round. Okay, tip number 7 is to consider every brand element as a system within itself. So you just heard a tip that was think about the whole. This is really think about every element of your brand as a system within itself. Good example here is we worked with a company that will be launching soon. It's a sustainable wood company that is really connecting the wood economy from end to end. So you can kind of think of them as like Flexport for lumber. They're adding value at kind of every moment of the supply chain. The challenge, of course, is that's a really complicated piece to communicate, or business model to communicate. And they have a bunch of different audiences that they need to speak to. Being end to end in the lumber industry, they're talking from everyone from like landowners and haulers and loggers and like the typical lumberjack that you think of when you think of wood, and then also high-end architects who are buying these the lumber. And then of course investors, being venture funded, you need to look good for investors. So very wide range of audiences. We wanted to make sure that every brand element had the flexibility within it to speak to a variety of different audiences. And so we developed this. I'm going to spotlight specifically the illustration style we developed for them, which is really kind of a beautiful stippled effect. And it allows us to shine a light on both the materials and the data that they collect for each of the steps of this end-to-end process, and then also shine a light on these more sort of illustrative scenes of forests. And you can see the range that this illustration style gives us. We can kind of depict things that are a little bit more abstract, and then you can also use it to envision scenes that are much more literal. So everything from like wood and tree rings, more used as like a textural effect, versus full illustrated scenes of networks or forests. Of course, we put this into motion, which is very fun, and used it as well as a map sort of treatment. The strength of their network is in the breadth of their network, and so it was important that any illustration style not just be beautiful, but also be functional for things like maps. Cool. Tip number 8, think about how you show up in the world. So once you've got your beautiful brand system, or as you're building your beautiful brand system, how you actually bring it into the world is just as important as what that brand system looks like. Good example here is a natural wine company called Dirty Vine. So we worked with Dirty Vine at their inception. They were new. They came to us with an idea of what they wanted to be, built on these kind of premises or challenges. They knew that traditional wine was sort of sterile, kind of stuffy, a little snobby, a lot of swirling and sniffing. But they also recognized that natural wine, while they love it and they were excited to be a destination for natural wine, can also come with its own sort of like funky connotations or like a little rogue. They wanted to be this happy medium, approachable place where you could learn about natural wine and you didn't have to be 2 feet into the funk. So our solution for them, the other remaining challenge for them was that they really were environmentally minded. So they love natural wine for the fact that it is good to the planet. And they wanted to celebrate natural wine as sort of this like earthy, clean of the moment, but also like beautifully dirty material that really comes from Mother Earth. And so we gave them this very natural kind of feeling, modern brand that is very soil obsessed, very farm first, and talked through their touch points of like, where is this brand actually experienced and how can we actually approach those places, those brand activations, in a way that feels different. So of course, something like their shipping packaging needed to be sustainable, that's a given. We also thought through like, okay, what if we gave every new club member a wine tasting notes journal, and with the leather material of the journal, we actually used, we found a company that turns discarded grape skins into leather. And so we were like, what if we used that material as a way to kind of reinforce the naturalness of this brand and really celebrate it. We also recommended that they, of course, create a zine where they could kind of celebrate the winemakers themselves and really dive into the profiles of the wine in a way that most first drinkers don't always get. And lastly, we thought through their bottle shop, of course, through our own lens as well. So not just giving you the standard bottle shop experience of sort by red, white, and rosé, but instead, how about we sort by experience, sort of filter by the way that we actually drink our wine, which is around occasions or around moments in our lives.
Cool. And our number 9 is expect healthy evolution over time. So of course you're investing into one part of, you're investing in the process and developing a brand system. You're going to come out of it with a set of assets. The idea is to create set of assets that really, it's back to a little bit of this hydrosat example. You have very truthful assets that allow you to really project individually what you are and who you are, but then there is going to be some change. There might be a change of an audience you're communicating with. There may be some future casting and some growth that we always try to keep in mind and just create really what's essential for the brand. So an example here is Metris. It's a finances and finance company that finances and manages energy efficiency projects for organizations with large energy spans. They basically analyze buildings, figure out what would be the most both environmentally and financially friendly way of changing the systems within the building, and then take a cut of the profit from the change. So the challenge, and this was good like 4 or 5 years back, but they were 11 years in, they were the pioneer of the category, but they got leapfrogged by other people, or basically people came in with more modern aesthetics and they asked us to help them out. And then it is a very complex and multifaceted offering that we wanted to translate into a much simpler thing and entice people to engage with this idea of like energy efficiency as a service. So you can see here, again, big believers into distilled ideas. It's a bold, it's a spark, it suggests energy, but it's created out of 2 elements that can be customized. This was a very boutique operation at the time. They can be customized to bring the best system for your needs to you. It's a sleek little mark as a pin, but also can communicate a lot of meaning. And then the backbone of the idea was also just the simple idea of graphics on buildings. They analyze them, they make them work better, they make them more efficient, more environmentally friendly. And this simple idea can just allow you to do a lot of things. It's lots of negative space, clarity, freshness through that, but also very much like some structure alluding to these buildings. And one part, this healthy evolution over time, we did their website, those 4 or 5 years ago. At the time, what they wanted to do is really stand out from the category, be a little bit more, kind of pop from what the category was doing, and they were talking to a new audience. And just 2 years ago, their outreach changed a little bit and how they reached their clients changed. Now they were talking to people who knew a little bit more about the category, and we all decided that we wanted a little bit more of like a cleaner, fresher look. And with the same elements, same typeface, same color, same logo, we refreshed it, brought in more new language and new audiences to understand what the brand does.
Perfect. Okay, tip number 10, I'm gonna really rip through quickly so that we can get to happy hour. Microphone's ready to go too. Okay, tip number 10 is set your team up for success beyond the brand. So when we hand over the brand, it is yours to run with. We always think through how to make that journey as easy as possible, handing over a brand for you to move forward with effectively and easily over time. And a lot of that is templatizing. That is what we, for the Mind Company, we created a system that had sort of the flexibility, knowing that it needed to expand over time. We wanted to make sure that we built in room for that flexibility. And so as much as you can foresee how your brand might evolve over time, that allows your branding partners to then build into the system the flexibility that you're going to need. In this case, this was a parent brand. They knew they were going to launch new games into the App Store. They wanted it to share visual language and a kind of shared vernacular. And so, of course, we had brand guidelines, but we also thought through how this brand could kind of extend from app to app to app. So you could The parent brand is what we just showed. This is their most recent app that they just launched into the App Store. You can see it kind of comes from the same family, shares the same traits, but still feels like it stands on its own. That is what we have for you. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Let's get on to happy hour.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you're like me, but I'm so inspired. I don't want to read a book before going to bed. I just want to watch this. And I hope you got, the understanding, like how many layers and what building a brand is really about. And it's almost, I think a founder is almost therapy, right? You go so deep in point of view. And you didn't mention, but I know both your studio use AI. But again, we start so many things that are real and really deep that no AI is going to copy. So I think you're very, very safe. Thank you so much. That was a masterclass. And I think anybody who wants to learn more, talk to these amazing ladies. Think about your brand. Think about how you create desire for your customers. But also, I feel like a brand is make you, like, as a founder, as an employee, make you stand taller, feel bigger. It's a lot of impact. So thank you so much. Mark, let's join me, and we're going to just wrap this up.